Welcome back. Thought we can go through a little bit of songwriting in minor key just to get you going, to get the ideas flaming and sparking, and because I believe there's a creative guitar player in every guitar player. You just might need a little push to set you off in the right direction. Now, in past lessons we covered songwriting in major key, okay, and now we're going to do minor key. So you might want to view those lessons or download the written lesson on the major key songwriting, and then also print out the handout written lesson on minor key songwriting that we have for you, okay? And this is the chart that you're going to be referencing throughout this lesson. So you want to print this out and have this by you, okay? Now, I'm going to be throwing some theory around to try to make this as easy as possible. If you don't understand all of it, don't sweat it, okay? You'll get it eventually, but you don't need to know a tremendous amount of theory to get going necessarily writing good songs or to get you writing cool progressions, okay? So don't think you have to have a black belt in music theory. You don't. With the chart and just some basic knowledge of some chord and chord construction, you're off and running, and you can do it, and quite quickly, all right? So, what we're going to talk about now is minor key. Now, the terms natural minor, Aeolian mode, pure minor, they're all the same. So in case you have heard any mix of those three terms, those are synonymous, okay? Natural minor, pure minor, Aeolian mode, all the same. So the first thing I want to show you is how to build a minor scale, and then we'll harmonize it, giving us all the chords in minor key, whether a certain chord is a minor chord or a major chord or a diminished chord, all right? Or augmented chord. Now, one thing though, minor key is a little bit more complex than major key, because in major key, there's just one major scale, the major scale, and all music theory falls back to the major scale, and everybody knows the major scale, do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do, or 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 are the intervals. And we talked a lot about that in major key, and you can go back to those lessons or read up on those written lessons that we have for you on how to build the major scale. Minor key, there's actually three different kinds of minor scales. There's the natural minor scale, there's a harmonic minor scale, and there's a melodic minor scale. So when you start harmonizing them and come up with all the chords, it gets a little bit more complex. But we're going to exploit that because it's going to give you more chordal options. But just to keep it as simple as possible, what I did in the chart was I just harmonized the natural minor scale and the ascending version of the melodic minor scale. So basically in each key, you're going to have 14 different chords to start messing around with. Remember, there's 12 notes in Western music, 12 keys, all right? And on the chart, I give you the chords in each key right across. It's beautiful. And you could kind of sit there and tinker around with them and go through some of our other lessons as far as which ones sound good together, and experiment and let your ear guide you. And like I always say, remember that any chord can appear in any key. However, there's a certain group of chords, and these particular chords within a certain key are much more likely to appear in a given key. Those notes that make up various combinations of the notes that make up the natural minor scale, or the ascending version of the melodic minor scale, or the harmonic minor scale. Okay, so the first thing we have to do is let's build a minor scale, and then we can harmonize it. And the formula is different than building a major scale, all right? With a minor scale, natural minor, Aeolian mode, pure minor, you're going to go from your root, you're going to go whole step, half step, whole step, half step, whole step, whole step. And that will give you the scale. For instance, let's do it in the key of B. So in the key of B, our root note is the B. So if you start on any B note, I'm going to start on the B note. We're going to play it here at the 7th fret on the low E string. We start from that B, following this order of notes. It will give us a minor scale, natural minor scale, in any key we want. We're going to do it in B. So if you put your first finger on a B note, let's just take the 7th fret low E string, and you go whole step. That'll be a C sharp. That's your second in the key of B minor. And then half step will be the D. Then you go a whole step to your E, another whole step to your F sharp, half step to the G, whole step to the A, and another whole step, and you're back to your B. And there you have a minor scale, B minor scale. You notice the sound is a little bit darker. Remember, minor chords, minor scales, a little darker than major. And if you continue with those notes, and you could do that in any key just by following this formula and build your minor scale. And you should learn your minor scales all over the neck. Here it is in D. I was just playing off the 2nd fret on the A string, okay? And you want to learn them all up and down the neck, like all our scales, eventually, okay? So, that's how you build your minor scale. Now, if we use the same principles that we did when we built our major scales, there's a different chord is indicated for each of these notes, and that's how you start to harmonize the scale. So the first chord in any minor scale will be the minor chord. In this instance, we did the B minor scale, so it would be B minor. And then your second chord is going to be a diminished chord, followed by your major, your flat third, because that third note, remember, all music theory goes back to the major scale, okay? And we're not playing a major third. That would be the E flat. We're doing a flat third. Remember, whole step, half step, all right? So that would be a major chord, followed by a minor chord, major chord, and major chord. That gives us the intervals root, 2nd, flat 3rd, 4th, 5th, flat 6th, flat 7th. And that is the formula for a natural minor scale, okay? Now again, I'm moving quickly because I want to try to get through a lot of material on this DVD or on the site if you're watching this, and I want to get you banging these chords around and start putting them together. Eventually, we'll go back and we'll fill in all the holes of the music theory if you didn't understand that. The big thing now is just remember the minor scale, the formula, and you could build it in any key. And then what I did was I took all 12 keys and wrote out the chords. For instance, in the key of B, if you just look down the column going down and you go to B minor, right? The first chord is your minor chord is a B minor. Then remember the second note is C sharp. That's going to be a C sharp diminished chord. D major, E minor, F sharp minor. And the last two chords would be major, G major and A major. And that makes up your B minor scale. Okay? And then underneath that, I put the chords in the ascending version of the melodic minor scale because that'll give you a couple different chords to play with, and you could use any of those in combination. So these, remember I said there's 3 different kinds of minor scales. That's going to give you more opportunity, more chords within this chart that you can kind of try to put together when you're writing your songs. Okay, and then in the black is the natural minor, and the red I did the ascending version of the melodic minor just to keep it straight. Very valuable benchmark to have this next to you when you're trying to put chords together instead of trying to find what sounds good together. Okay, this will help direct you to them much quicker. All right, so certainly study this formula, apply it to build your minor scales, and then let's start throwing some chords together and see what we can come up with that sounds good. Okay, so let's get to the heart of the matter, right? And let's take the chords in a given minor key and start banging them around and see if we can come up with something that sounds cool. And it's really easy and fun, and you let your ear guide you. Remember, if it sounds good, it is good. And you could start coming up with some cool minor progressions. Let's just, instead of B minor, let's try E minor, okay? So you go down to E minor, and then if you go across, there's 14 different chords that are going to sound pretty good together, which are different combinations of your natural minor scale or ascending version of your melodic minor scale, and start playing with those, and let's see what we can come up with. So basically to start, take all the chords in any given key, all 14 of them, and start going from one to the next, not in order, and start playing with them and see what you can come up with, like we did in major key, but except now we're doing it in minor key. And I kind of did that off camera for a little while, and I kind of came up with something kind of cool. I went from that E minor, we're in the key of E minor, and then I went to that G chord, G major, to that flat third. In the key of E minor, our third note, that flat third is a G. And And that third is the flat third is a major chord. Remember, every note corresponds to a given chord, and that's how you can come up with the chords in each key. So I just started jamming on it, came up with. And then I went from the G to, I have another chord I use in there, I use an F sharp minor. And that F sharp minor is actually still in the box, but it's in the ascending version of the melodic minor scale. Remember, you have a few more combinations to choose from. So I was going E minor, G, E minor, G, F sharp. And you get something like this. And my process is I like coming up with some riffs, and then unless I have a melody line or a lyric line, then I start putting things on top of it as far as lyrics and different melodies and whatnot. Now, I'm playing clean, but when I was writing this riff, I was like, that's going to be a pretty cool sounding riff to play it distorted. So if you want to try to write something heavier, turn on the distortion. So let's do that. All right, so I added some distortion because to me it was sounding like kind of a heavier riff. And you could write this clean or heavy, or again, you could be creative with it. And remember, I'm just going from that E to the G, E minor actually, and then I throw in that F sharp minor. And I'm just picking chords within that key of E minor, right along that one line, two lines actually, of the chart. And it'll sound like this distorted. Same riff I was kind of playing clean, I like it better distorted. Okay, so you see it takes on a more heavier, kind of driving kind of sound. And now I'm just going to pick a few more chords to go to the next part of the song. And if I look on the chart more, let's see, I can grab a C major to the G, and then maybe I'll go C major to the D. And C, I'll throw in the B minor, okay? And I kind of experimented, found out what sounds good, let my ear guide me. And again, these are all just picking these chords, and they all sound pretty good together, according to this chart that we made, based off of harmonizing these minor scales. So next part, we'll go from the C major to the G major, C major, D major. Getting a little change going. Repeat it, and then the last time, I'll end on the B minor. Build with a stop. Kind of sound like this. Back to the beginning. Throw in some stops and whatever else you want rhythmically, and start jamming on a riff. And then especially if you have a drum machine or a drummer, I find that very motivating because they can come up with a cool beat and you can kind of accent with them and whatnot. Or you could just sit on your porch and just come up with some cool sounding little progressions together, okay? Fast, fun, and easy. I literally spent, 5 minutes just playing around with chords in this line, these two lines on the chart in the key of E minor. Let my ear guide me, and I have the basis of kind of what I think is kind of some cool ideas that I can take from there. So what you want to pull out of this is certainly understand a little bit of the theory, but the bottom line is start having some fun. Use the chart as a jump off point to make it easy to find chords that sound good together. They're in that given key. And then you can always grab a chord, and I urge you to do that. Try to find something outside and bring it in. and you can be well on your way to creating some really good music, because I think it's important. Certainly, you know, learn a lot of songs and cover your favorite bands and artists, but it's certainly, you want to try to create some stuff, and you'll be so surprised. Sometimes just a couple of chords is all you need. Look at all the great music out there that's just 2 or 3 chords. Just need some good melody and some really cool poetry or lyrics to put on top of it. And you can do it. Hope that helps. Keep developing your ear and practicing the right things, and we'll see you soon. Take care.